Hello everybody, this is Arid, or some of you may know me as September from the Hanor, which is now Thunderwing, as well as the PTS servers. In this video, it's going to be part 2 of the newest Archeage series that I'm doing, 5.0 Unofficial Patch Notes and Rebirth. In this video, we're going to be talking about the general and regrading patch notes. Once again, this is just a thought experiment. Nothing outlined here is actually real. This is an effort put forth by me to engage the community in a respectful way with the goal of ultimately getting this information into the public eye and collectively creating a game that we all want to play. If you have watched part 1 of this series, you will find that to be very helpful, as these videos are laid out in a specific order, building on one another as we go along. In this video, I will be revealing patch notes for 5.0. It is important to understand that these patch notes are my interpretation of a possible implementation for Archeage 5.0. The notes are designed with two things in mind. First, quality of life. Some of these notes are just basically general improvements on the game. Second, the milestone changes laid out in part 1 of this series. Each item listed here is done so in accordance with the milestone changes. These are what I believe are golden rules that XL needs to adopt going forward. Okay, so I want to do a quick reminder of what those milestone changes are. I explained them a lot better in part 1 of this series, but I'm just going to list them here. Number 1, dramatically decrease the need to use the cash shop for character development. Number 2, increase accessibility to existing content. Number 3, create new exciting content on a regular basis. Number 4, it isn't all for naught. And that basically has to do with things that you have done in the past with Archeage will be carried over to the future of Archeage. And number 5, increased transparency. Okay, so jumping right into the general patch notes, here's part 1. Racial quests for all races now grant expansion scrolls. After finishing the quest line up to and including the quest series in Diamond Shores, you will have a total of 15 expansion scrolls. Characters who have already completed these racial quests will be awarded these scrolls retroactively. Again, it isn't all for naught. These scrolls are not bound and can be sold or traded. Next, decrease the number of materials required for each stage of the Dream and Ionad Earring quest lines. Players who have completed these quest lines in the past or at the time of the patch will have a new quest which will allow them to upgrade their Dream Ring or Ionad Earring to Divine. Again, it isn't all for naught. Next, achieving level 50 awards you with 2 player appreciation coins. These can be used to obtain a glider, a pet, or temporary vehicles via the composition workbench and Mirage Isle. These coins are not tradable, but will be awarded retroactively. It isn't all for naught. Next, reaching level 55 will award you a vehicle token. This can be used to obtain a vehicle of your choice from the composition workbench. The choices are the Apex Squall, the Comet Speedster, the Cogwheel Longboard, or a 6-slot farm hauler. This coin is not tradable and will be awarded retroactively. This incorporates milestone change number 1, increase the accessibility to existing content without having to pay for it, as well as it is not all for naught. So if you've already done it, you'll get your choice here. Reaching level 55 and all abyssal skill trees will award you 4 completed cursed armor fragments. These will be rewarded retroactively. And I want to point out here in 4.0, they are changing the game to require 4 completed cursed armor fragments per piece of Aranor. So if you're still playing in 3.5 version, it'd be like getting 1 completed cursed armor fragment. Next, reaching level 7 ancestral skill level will award you 4 acid vessels. Again, this is a retroactive reward. And once again, I needed to point out that in 4.0, you need 4 acid vessels to make 1 Aranor. So in 3.5, it's only 1. All right, so general patch notes, part number 2. We're going to see the first account warehouse implementation. Warehouses now have a account tab. Items that are account bound or not bound will be able to be put into this warehouse to share with other characters on this account on this server. You'll receive 20 characters or 20 slots per character on each server, and you can expand the size of this account warehouse up to 150 slots. Next, we're going to do the first pass on account-bound items, obsidian weapons, dungeon weapons and armor, loot purses, wrapped Daru electric rod and reel, which will come up in the next video series. Obsidian materials will all be flagged as account-bound instead of character-bound. You will be able to trade these items using the new account warehouse because they cannot be mailed. And we'll be adding more items to this list in the future. Next, removing pop-ups. This goes to quality of life. Hero calls will no longer pop up. Instead, what you'll see is a little bouncing megaphone in the lower left-hand corner of the screen, which will disappear if not used within 2 minutes or upon use. Just think of that little divine bouncing box if you're a patron that you click on to get your loyalty coins. Next, regrade spam. There will be a new UI feature which will allow you to filter the global notifications on screen for regrades under a certain threshold. The highest level is legendary, which will filter out all global notifications of epic or lower. So basically what it's saying is legendary, mythic, and Aranor pop-ups will still happen. However, everything below that, if you so choose, can be filtered out. Next, one-click dailies. You can now accept all your daily quests, family, login, and guild with a single push of a button. Amen. Next, opening unidentified ore pouches as well as the big belly fish now award XP and proficiency for mining and fishing respectively. Currently in game, you can open those and use your labor, but you don't get any XP or proficiency. Weird. And last on this list, trees. They now list their approximate chance of going thunderstruck in their tooltip. Milestone change. Be more transparent. Alright, so part 3 of these patch notes. Added water bundles to the game. You can now bundle corals and pearls using the gathering skill to create these bundles. Each will require a special ingredient called a coral skeleton. You can find these coral skeletons from harvesting sandstorms. Yes, they still drop the Shadowgun sand as well. The drop rate is about 50% and it will drop 2 to 4 per sandstorm. Each bundle will require 5 coral skeletons and use 10 seeds. Next, added underwater planting. You can now plant underwater plants anywhere within a modest distance from all shorelines. Next, additional areas in the wild now spawn underwater plants. They're not just limited to 4 or 5 zones that are currently. Next, we changed the pearl oysters to drop 2 to 4 pearls per harvest. We removed their vocation costs. They now are available from the general seed vendors for 2.8 silver per unit. The pearl oysters, if you're not familiar with them, are the only plant in the game that yields a fixed amount of items, which is 2, and they've always been very expensive. It's not consistent. Remove the kick ability from combat. This is a big one that has come from Korea. And we also removed the digging animation from canceling sandstorms. If you've ever done underwater planting, you know how tedious these can be to get rid of. So incorporating those two together, you can now kick the sandstorm, which is a near instantaneous thing if you do not wish to harvest it. Next, added fire and wave lunarite to the loot tables for larceny crates. Crates will now have a small chance to drop lunarite starting at basic, and they will progress to fine at the top tier crates, and that would be like library floor 3 or the ancestral crates. And so moving along, significantly increase the drop rates of locked metal crates. That's pretty much self-explanatory. And finally on this list, metallic crates now will drop sun points, moon points, and star points more often. This goes back to milestone 1 change, dramatically decrease the need to use the cash shop for character development. Okay, so this is the last section of the general patch notes. Aurorian metallic crates, in addition to sun, star, and moon points, will also have a chance to drop 1 to 3 lucky star, sun, or moon point fragments. Those are those things that you combine, and if you get 3 of them, you can make a full star, sun, or moon, lucky star, sun, or moon point. Moving along, regrade braziers that go hot have had their chance of dropping lucky point fragments quadrupled. So you got 4 times the amount of chance of getting those fragments from the hot braziers. And in that accord, regrade braziers now have a chance to go another tier, which is called blazing. Blazing braziers will always drop the lucky point fragments along with 5 regular sun, star, or moon points, as well as the flaming logs. And in that same vein, Aurorian trees will have a chance to go Thunderstruck. Thunderstruck Aurorian trees will drop the Archeum essence, as well as the Thunderstruck logs or trees, as well as the Archeum logs. Next is decrease the global cooldown of planting by 50%. Currently it's 3 seconds, and we'll have that changed to 1.5 seconds. And so the last thing on the list is we're going to be adding a combine hauler to the game. Combine haulers can be used to both plant or harvest player-owned land. The hauler has 2 operation modes, planting and harvesting. In planting mode, you will load the hopper with seeds and water. If you drive over player-owned land, it will deposit seeds and water them as it goes. In harvest mode, driving over player-owned land that you have permission to will pick up ready crops or bundles and use the driver's labor. Harvesting with the hauler also removes the chances for bait worms to drop from bundles. Additionally, it will decrease the chance of finding rare drops like royal seeds by 50%. Oops, found another page here. So there's 3 more things. Added migrant workers to the game. You can now hire a migrant worker from an NPC Daru located near the Mirage portals located throughout Aeronor. There are 2 types of workers. There's going to be pickers and there's going to be lumberjacks. A picker will tend to fruiting trees like apples, grapes, jujubes, as well as avocados, and that is to just name a few. Lumberjacks will chop down any non-fruiting trees once they become ready. The way it works is you can post a worker in your field by building a shelter on your land in which it will tend. The shelter costs 1 lumber bundle and spans the size of about an orange tree. Workers will tend the land to which the shelter belongs, and in addition to the gold fee from the Daru, workers will claim a portion of their yield as payment. Workers will last 48 hours and consume your labor pool as needed. If you run out of labor, the worker will stop. Next, we've added a new zone in Aurora called Lax Gems Peas. This is a outpost zone for the Blue Salt Brotherhood as well as the Daru and Aurora. Unlike other zones, this area is actually strictly regulated with a non-combat treaty. Players will find vocation quests as well as special Daru challenges here. Additionally, the Blue Salt Brotherhood operates a NPC-run castle. So all players, no matter what nation or guild or faction they're in, they can participate in these dailies safely if the quests are available. And finally, quality of life. We've decreased the cost of basic seeds, trees, and livestock from the merchants. Okay, so now we're going to move into regrading patch notes. This is part 1 of 2 of this section. So with the introduction of the primordial grade, or as we know, eternal grade, we have shifted the destruction chance during regrading from celestial to divine. We'll be issuing regrade rewards retroactively, and you'll receive 10 armor, weapon, or accessory, divine anchoring shards per broken celestial item prior to 5.0. We will be issuing 10 epic regrade shards per broken divine item prior to 5.0. Characters who no longer exist will receive these rewards on their most active character. Next, we increase the Celestial Plus regrade rate slightly, and here is a chart from the current and the new rates. Basically, what you'll notice is at the Celestial through Mythic, regrade chances have increased approximately 20%. And so last on the list is we're going to increase the chance of a great success. So the current rate is 20% of the success chance. The new rate is 30% of the success chance. All right, so here's the last section of the regrading patch notes. Added regrade UI to show the percent chance of downgrade, success, great success, and destruction. In 3.5, they did add the chance of success, but they didn't outline the other chances. So I'm going to throw up here in this video the wrong way here. You see how they don't tell you the chances here. Now let's look at the correct way, or a version of the correct way, and the way it should look like this in 5.0. So here you can see the success chance, the destruction chance, and the downgrade chance. And then you see the great success chance. Again, that's increased to 30%. The overall chance is 70%, so that means the great success chance on this particular item would be 21%, giving us the total of 70%. So next, moving along, regrade destruction of Tier 3 and Tier 4 dungeon items, as well as Delphinod, Tier 5, and Tier 6 obsidian items will yield divine anchoring shards based on their grade at destruction. This is specifically for NAEU. I believe that in Korea they already have this. So why we didn't get it, I have no idea. Destruction of Ionad and Tier 7 items will yield epic anchoring shards based on their grade at destruction. Next, we're going to be decreasing the regrade gold cost by about 10% for items celestial or lower, and 15% for items that are divine or higher. Moving along, armor, weapon, and accessory anchoring charms are no longer bound, so you can trade or sell them, and they use ancestral warrior metals instead of the honor forged warrior metals, which means you can buy these with either honor or vocation. Next, added obsidian tier 8 weapons and armor to the game. These weapons will be on par, but slightly less than Aranor. And lastly on the list, we increased XP provided when leveling Aranor weapons by about 20%. This increase will be rewarded retroactively. Again, milestone. Okay, so that's going to take care of the general and the regrading patch notes. In the next video, we're going to be talking about marketplace and crafting changes. And the final video of this series will be talking about PvE and PvP changes. So stay tuned for those videos. But now I'd like to get into some player feedback, and let's see what other people have been saying. All right, so this first comment comes from DAKLGG. These ideas could catapult the game back into the top rating of MMOs and have Archeage live up to its potential as the best in slot MMO ever. Wow, okay. Thank you, Dak, for those comments. The next one comes from Joey XBT. It makes me sad that this is not real. Arid, I started playing Archeage at launch, early access, and quit approximately 2 months into it due to hassle. Oh, I remember that. I then restarted about 6 months ago and quit after 3 months due to lack of content and nothing to do but dailies. I would come back in a heartbeat if these changes were to take place. Wow, thank you, Joey. Next, Cosmic Goldie. Oh my God. The wife and I are going to be land barons, as all we do is farm. We have close to 25 scarecrows, 3 harvesters, tree houses, cottages, and farmhouses. We don't PvP, so we spend our gold, and we don't spend our gold on armor. We spend it on farming, acquiring land. Doing farming and crafting in Archeage can be very relaxing for a couple if you learn to avoid the trolls. Good thoughts? More player feedback. Here's a little bit of a negative one. Microminus, making game extreme casual and or destroy one more aspects of the game is not a good solution. Your leveling rewards are nonsense. Do you want to give mass of luxury and high-end life skill potato player rewards for free? No! 15 tradable expansion scrolls for free will not help. If you feel the inventory or storage space insufficient, go to buy some of this items. Or give players in high-level quests maybe 1 to 2 of them and character-bound version. Well, yeah, so he's really angry about getting free stuff for free. If I remember correctly, in Korea, you can actually buy the expansion slots with gold. So, I don't know. For whatever reason, North America / EU doesn't have that. And I think that doing quests should reward you, as said in the other video, with rewards that are, usable. And this is one way to do it. Alex B. Boy, is this real life? Lurk730, I thought this was real for 15 seconds. Why do you toy with my heart? Rick Marks, lies! Wow, thank you guys. And so the last part of this section I'm going to give solely to one guy named Ghostly Eggs. He had just a tremendously good post on Reddit. And so special thanks to Ghostly Eggs, who said, "Oh, this is neat. I'd like to share some suggestions with you I made earlier this year." Then he goes on to talk about these ideas in Reddit, which you really need to hop over there and take a look at. But he specifically talks about his ideas about player shops, player apartments, a player commission board, a friendship system, dynamic weather, as well as a official housing market. All of those ideas he actually outlined in great detail, so you definitely need to go look at them. Very well done, Ghostly Eggs. I can really tell that you have passion, and I personally appreciate the time that you spent preparing your thoughts and presenting them to the community. I have to say my favorite one of his thoughts was the official housing market. I've actually seen 2 websites, and there could be more, that attempted to help players out in this manner. So I feel like if, or better, when Archeage returns to the forefront of MMORPGs, this will be a much needed improvement. Great job once again, Ghostly Eggs. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the video here. I want to thank everybody for spending their time watching this video. Remember, the important thing here is to be active about this subject. We need to come together and make a positive attempt to try to influence the future of this game that we all love. Once again, these changes are my interpretation of a possible implementation of the core 5 milestone changes that I personally feel like XL Games needs to enforce. You don't have to agree with me on some of these changes or even any of these changes. That's okay. I encourage you once again to be active on this subject. Leave your comments here in the video. Leave your comments on the Reddit post. Again, there will be a link in the description. And just try to be constructive. Whether you agree or disagree, be constructive. If you feel like this video has been helpful or informative or both and would like to give your seal of approval, please make sure that you remember to like and subscribe on your way out. If you would like to know more about this subject or have thoughts you wish to share, please leave your comments here and or in the Reddit post. There will be more videos in this series. Next up, we're going to be talking about the patch notes for the marketplace changes as well as the crafting changes. So until next time, this is September saying, be well.